Hello friends, welcome to the 93rd session of Hybris tutorial. Guys, in this session we are going to learn a very important topic in Hybris, and the topic name is filters concept in SAP Hybris for web application. So guys, this concept is frequently used in the project work, so this video is going to be very important for you. What I am going to tell you in this video, firstly, we will discuss what are filters in SAP Hybris. I will show you a demo of filters in Hybris, how the filters come into the picture when we use a web application, right? So I will also show you how the filters get triggered, right? When a request land into our application, how the filters get triggered, I will show you that flow also. We will also discuss the importance of the filters in any web application, how filters are useful, what all tasks can be performed using the filters, right? Why filter concept is so much in use. We will discuss all these points also, right? We will be discussing what is filter chain, how you can define a filter chain. We will be discussing this point also. I will be telling you what actually is the filter chain. And finally, guys, I will be creating a custom filter from the scratch. There I will be creating a filter from the beginning, right? I will be doing all the relevant wiring of that filter from the scratch, and then I will be showing you a demo, a working demo of that custom created filter. So this is a complete video, guys, in which I will be explaining you the detailed explanation of the filters concept. So watch this video till end, as this video is going to be very useful for you. Guys, this is a demo video in which we have explained the partial concept related to the filters. In case you want to watch the full video where we have explained the end-to-end details about the filters, like how to create a custom filter and how to create a custom filter chain, or how to override an existing out-of-box filter, you can watch our member specific video. So this video is 1 hour 7 minute long, in which I have given you the full technical details about the filter. So how you can watch this video? You just have to click on the link which is given in the comment section of this video, and you can also get the access to this member specific 1 hour long video. So guys, now before starting anything, let's firstly understand where actually this filter concept is used in any SAP Hybris web application, right? So where these filters come into picture, right? In which flow basically we call the filters, that I am going to tell you now. So guys, if you remember in our previous video, I had explained you the OCC web service on the latest Hybris version 22.11, right? We had learned how to create OCC web service from the scratch. This is one sample example of OCC web service. Here you can see I have created one OCC API with the name get user, right? So here you can see this is the request mapping slash user ID. This API is a get API. Guys, in case you don't know what is OCC API, you can watch my video. The link of the video is given in the description box of this video, as well as on the top right corner in card section. So just click on this link and you can watch what is OCC web service in Hybris. But just understand that this is just a simple API, a simple get API, which I can call from the postman, right? So you can see this is the URL of that API, right? So here you can see I am passing the email address, right? And this API is returning the complete details related to that user for that particular email address. So this is what this API is doing, right? Now guys, what I will do, I will hit this API. So you can see I am firstly accessing, because this is a secured API, so that's why I'm generating the authentication token, and then I'm clicking on the send button. So guys, here you can see as soon as I click on the send button, a request is getting landed on the Hybris tube user info controller.java, right? So you can see the request has reached to this API. Why it has reached? Because here in the URL we had given the same mapping, the mapping which is present against this API, right? But guys, do you think that this is the first entry point? right? Because as you can see, the request has landed on the controller. So this seems that this is the landing point in this application. No, this is not the landing point of this application. So before landing the request into the controller, it goes through other multiple files also. So those files we call as filters. So this means before landing the any http request into the controller class, that request goes through a set of java classes which we call as filters, right? So request will go through those classes, there some logic will be written, and once that logic is fulfilled, then only request reach to the controller. So I hope now you have a blur idea what are filters in SAP Hybris. So it means filters are something those come into picture before the request reach to the controller class. But now you will ask, because here you can see the request has directly landed into the controller. So your question will be, where is the filter coming into the picture? The reason is I have not added any debug point on the filter, that's why we are not able to see. But if you see here in the hierarchy, you will see that it is basically calling the multiple filters, and then only a request is basically landing into the controller. So you can see the filter it is calling is access filter. So guys, you can see when this request was fired, how it entered into our application. This entered into application, first class is thread.java. Using this only, the subsequent classes got triggered. So all these classes got triggered. Then it basically triggered the thread pool executor, right? Then it triggered other classes. But over here, guys, if you carefully see, it has basically triggered one application filter chain dot class, right? And this is the filter concept. From here the filter concept will start into coming into the picture. It will internally call multiple filters, not only these filters, not only application filter chain, it will call the access filter dot java also. So you can see it has called this access filter. There the logic will be written, what type of logic we write in the filter, that we will be discussing in the subsequent part of the video, where I will be actually creating a new filter from the scratch. But I think now you have a rough idea that there is some concept of filters which come into the picture before the request land into the controller, right? So I have shown you the example of access filter. Similarly, there is another class or another once per request filter dot class. So there are multiple filters which come into picture before the request lands into the controller. We have the log4j filter dot class. How these filters are getting called, that also I will be telling you in some time, that why firstly access filter was called and then this log4j filter was called, right? Why log4j filter was not calling getting called before the access filter. I will be explaining you all those points in detail. But my point is that we have a hierarchy, or we have a list of filters which come into picture before the request lands into the controller, right? So over here you can see the final request. Over here at this point the request basically lands into the controller, but before that the request was getting propagated through the filters also. Now guys, what I will do, I will just release the debug, and then I will enable some of the debug points which are present into the filter, so that I can show you a demo that request actually go through the filters also before it basically land into the controller class. So you can see I have enabled some of the debug points in some of the filter class also, just to show you that how the request propagates, and or just to show you how a http request basically gets propagated. Okay, so you can see I have enabled multiple debug points. Now guys, what I will do, I will fire this call again. Now you will see that the request will not land onto the controller class. it will firstly land into the filters. So you can see the first filter, it is getting landed is core filter dot class, right? So the request is getting landed over here, and then it is going into another filter, log4j filter dot class. Then it is going into another filter, rest session filter dot class. So this means there are list of filters which are basically calling each other, right? How they are calling each other, we will discuss. Don't worry about that. We will discuss that how these filters are getting called one after another, and what is the use of these filters, why we have written these filters, right? So you can see it is even calling the base site matching filter also. What is the use of this base site matching? I will be explaining you everything, right, in some time. But basic thing is, you can see even it is calling cart matching filter, guest role filter, and finally it has called the controller class. Finally the request has landed into the controller class, right? So this means now it is clear to you that filters are something, or some Java classes, some special type of Java classes which come into the picture before the request lands into any controller, right? So guys, now before starting anything, we will write the definition of the filters, right? And then I will be showing you the further part of this concept. And guys, there is one more thing. I have already uploaded the notes and the code files which I will be explaining you in this video on the Google Drive. So you can see I have already uploaded. So you can also download these notes and the code files, right, by just clicking on the link which is given in the first comment of this video. So you just have to click on the link which is given in the comment section of this video, and you can also download the notes and the relevant code files related to this topic. Okay, now guys, what I will do, I will be writing the definition of the filters. So what we will do, filters, what are filters? So we will write what are filters. So we will write, so we can say that every web application requires platform filters. What are these platform filters? We will discuss in some time, but just understand that every web application requires the platform filters to ensure that platform work properly, right? We will be discussing this point in more detail when I will be telling you what is the use or what is the function of the filter, right? So all available filters are part of platform, but not necessary but not necessary for each for every web application. Okay, we will be discussing this point first. So to explain this point, that every web application requires the platform filters to ensure that platform work properly. To explain this point, what I will do, I will take example of another API. So this is another API, fetch multiple customer details, right? So this is also another API. And here if you see guys, at this point, what I am doing, I am printing the current base site service dot get current base site. If you see that, if I how I am hitting this, how I am hitting this API. So here if you see that, this is the URL for hitting that API. So I will be hitting this API, using this URL. But this is the URL. Here I am passing localhost 9002 slash occ slash v2, and then I'm passing the CMS site, right, or base site I'm passing, right, and then I'm passing the slash customers. If you see, same is the URL, slash customers, right? Now guys, as soon as I hit this API, you will see that it is going through firstly a list of filters, right? It is going through a list of filters, but then ultimately the request will be landing into the controller class. Over here you can see the request has landed into the controller class. Now guys, if you see, this is the API base site service dot get current base site, right? So if you see that this API will be telling me which is the current base site in the context. Here if you see, if I inspect it, it is even telling me the complete CMS site model, right? It is giving me the full detail of the base site which is there into the session. How the system has concluded just by using this URL that this is the current base site in the session. How system has determined it, right? Because in the request I just pass the base site name slash electronics, right? But where that logic is written, that to identify, right, the complete base site model, just by identifying the, or just by analyzing this URL slash electronics, how system has concluded that the current base site in the system, or current base site in the current context is this one, right? Is this one, how, where that logic is written. So guys, this logic is basically written into the filter class, right? So what I will do, I will just release the debug again, because then I will be showing you the logic where this is written, that we will be analyzing the URL, or the HTTP request which we are firing from the postman, right? And we are using that request only, HTTP request only. System is determining that this is the current base site, right? So if you see, I am clicking on the send button again. As soon as I click on the send button, request has landed into the core filter dot class, right? Then the request will go to the log4j filter dot class. I will explain you in some time why the core filter dot class was called first, and then log4j filter dot class was called later on. We will be discussing these points in some time. But yeah, these are the filter chains we have in our current flow. Then guys, over here we have one important filter, what is base site matching filter. So this is the filter which is basically determining, using this HTTP request, using this slash electronics, it actually decides that okay, the current base site is this, and it actually sets that current base site, right, current base site into the session also. That's why in my controller I was able to determine using the method base site service dot get current base site, right? Using this method base site service dot get current base site, why this API was giving me the current base site, because in this filter I am basically determining. Here you can see I am parsing the request which I am getting. Where this logic is written, at this point you can see I am determining what is the request we have. I will just go further. You can see it is determining in the get path only. It will be determining what is the you know here you can see this is the whole request, right? This is the whole request. And then request dot get path info, if I just inspect it, if I just inspect it, it has it has identified the path of the request is slash electronics slash customers, right? You can see it has given me this result, and using this I have determined the base site ID is electronics, right? Then if base site ID is not equal to null, I am going into this point, and here actually I am making a call to the DB to check whether there is any base site, you know whether there is any base site with the name electronics in the system or not. So here actually I am making a call to the DB also, right? And where this whole logic is written, this whole logic is written in a special type of Java class. And what we call to that special type of Java class, we call it as a filter. So guys, this is all about the filters. I have explained you what are filters, what are the benefits of using the filter, how filters are actually used in actual project work, right? With the practical example also I have explained you the concept related to the filters. We also discuss what is filter chain, how we call a particular filter or a list of filters from a filter chain, and how a filter chain is activated. We discussed that point also, right? Finally, I showed you by creating a custom filter, right? There were two example. One was I created a custom filter. Second one was I basically overrided the definition of an existing filter, user matching filter. So I overridden the definition of user matching filter into my custom extension. So I showed you all type of examples. So I think guys, this is a complete video which you can directly use into your project work, and I hope this will be very helpful for you. And guys, if you like this video, please share this channel with your friends. Thank you for watching. Bye.